My name is Neil Ferguson, and I retired as an electronic chief technician senior. I first went in '53 and caught the tail end of the Korean War. At that time they had the draft going, and I was in high school, graduated from high school, so there was a possibility of getting picked up for the draft. And my stepfather's in the Navy, two older half-brothers were in the Navy, or stepbrothers I mean, in the Navy, so I was kind of thinking that too. And I don't know who said it, but anyway, it's always been on my mind that being in the Navy, you have 3 meals a day and a bed to sleep in every night, no matter where you're at, and I like that too. And the first ship I was on was the USS St. Paul, CA-73, a heavy cruiser. Well, it was just a strange, big-looking thing. I was sent on a warship and went from, I guess, San Francisco to Japan. That's where the ship was at. And it was anchored out in a bay there someplace, and walked up a gangplank and got on it. And it's a huge thing. In boot camp, they teach you about the frames and how to get around on the thing, so I knew that. But still, it's a little unusual to get on, first time you get on something like that. And you have to learn how many passways this way, how many decks this way, and then you have to go up and down sometimes to get past something. It's interesting. So they caught the tail end of the Korean War, and we'd go out for 30 days shooting bullets at Korea, or shells, and come back in and pick up some more, go out there and shoot it again. And I did that about 3 times, and then the conflict was over. And when they shoot the 8-inch guns, they keep you below decks. You can't go up on top at all. The 5-inch guns, you can be up on deck when they're doing that. If they're in a shooting situation, a battle zone or something, then you don't go up there. But target practice and things like that, you can be up on deck while firing the 5-inch guns. And I was sitting back in the fantail one time with a camera, and they had a 5-inch gun back there too, further ahead of me from where I was at, so more forward on the ship. And I was trying to take a picture of the bullet. Every time I'd hear it boom, I'd take a picture. Never got the bullet, of course. But I got a lot of smoke. And one picture, there was a guy under there, and I caught him in midair as he walked under the gun barrel. That's kind of a loud boom when you're under the gun barrel that goes off. And when I first went on there, I was a mess cook in a galley, cleaning big pots and pans, not the trays and knives and forks, but the things that they fix the food with. And most of the big long ladles and spoons, the handle be bent in a U shape, so you can hang a ring welded on the ceiling, and you hang the handle over there. So I'm washing the dishes, hanging the handles up there, and there's about a 5-inch gun mount right over that spot. And it went off, and things went all over the place. So I picked them up and started doing it again, went off again. That was it. I just threw them in the sink and left. But yeah, you're not topside when the 8-inch guns go off. But I was when I was shooting at Korea, I was in what they call a main battery control forward, and they had 3 little circles represented 8-inch turrets, and they were all supposed to point in one direction. So that's why little circles, and 2 of them went where they wanted to, and the other one went the opposite direction. I thought that was funny. Well, they got where they wanted to go, but just, when you walk along or you left and right, you get mixed up, turn the wrong way or something, and you're marching. They did the same thing with gun barrels. I was assigned to the engineering department, machinist mates department. They take care of the turbines. I mean, they run the steam comes in, the turbine spins the shaft, and that kind of thing. And they have working hours on there, like from 8 in the morning to 4 at night. And then you want to stand 4-hour watches somewhere. And when you're not standing watch, you're doing some kind of work, and they have lagging on the steam lines and hot water lines. And they have a condenser where we condense the steam back into water. And my job was to wash this thing. It's white lagging. And I wash it in the morning, I get down, go to lunch, come back, I wash it over again. That's my job. I got kind of tired of that. One day in the plan of the day, or every day they have a plan of the day, what's going on during the day. And somebody advertised, does anyone know how to type? Come to the captain's office. I know how to type. And so at the captain's office, during noontime, you can't leave your working place any other hours than either before you start or lunchtime. So lunchtime I go to the captain's office, nobody's there. Next day I go up and try it again. About the 3rd day there was somebody there, and they just transferred me immediately from my engine room job to the captain's office, yeoman. So I became a yeoman. And I was down, at the time I was down in the voids, which is under the bilges. They have empty tanks down the bottom of the ship so it won't sink if something gets punctured. And oil leaks into those things. I had my light and bucket and rags down in there, and I just never went back down in again. I don't know who got out. I was happy to get out of that little mess. So I became a yeoman in the captain's office. There was 4 of us in there, and that was our little group. And we didn't work with the other yeomen. They did other kinds of things. So, and the chief in charge of the captain's office, he had a very good reputation. Did a very good job with the captain, whatever he did. Anything that came to the ship or left the ship with the captain's, the commanding officer, he'd open it and send it out, and stuff went out. And he made sure everything was right, and nobody messed with him. He knew his regulations. Officers have fitness reports, and the department heads puts out the fitness reports for their officers, and they come in through him, and he sends them to the captain, and well, we file the things in their records anyway. I was coming in there and trying to see the fitness report or find out whether they're getting a good fitness report or bad one, and try to have some influence somewhere along the line to get it fixed up. And he wouldn't let them see it. They insisted they're an officer and he's enlisted. He just put up a Navy regulation books, handed it to him, wouldn't say a word. It's kind of impressive watching him work. So I was a yeoman for about 8 years. But while I was on the ship, I did my tour of duty on there, and I transferred to Japan. And I might add that we fired the last official round in the Korean War. Some admiral, some important person, he signed the bullet. I don't remember who it was. So that was memorable. I didn't know it at the time, but that's one famous thing for the ship. Also, I think it had fired more rounds than any other heavy cruiser that was built. So it had a reputation of really shooting its guns. And was still a yeoman in Japan messing with directives. It's a really easy job. It's not hard at all. And I enjoyed that. It's just like, I don't know, being a civilian. And so I stayed there for 4 years, met my wife, had a kid, and then sent back to, well, I was in Japan. I met another yeoman. He was a captain's driver. Then he got tired of doing that. He wanted to stay home, so he got to be the captain's yeoman up on some other floor someplace. And I would see him every now and then. We got acquainted. And another fellow in the same office that I worked in, so 3 of us yeomen became pretty good friends. And one of us got transferred to the Norfolk, Virginia area. I forget who it was. And then a little bit later, the other one got transferred to the same general area of Norfolk, Virginia. And lastly, I got transferred to Norfolk, Virginia, Naval Aviation Safety Center. And the 3 of us, we got together from time to time. And I was still a yeoman at that time, and Navy was have an excess of yeomen, and they have a shortage of electronic technicians, so they encourage people with excessive ratings to shift over to ratings where they need the people. And so I was to get transferred to electronics, change over to electronics, and they sent me to school. And I was a second-class yeoman at the time. I couldn't make first class because you had to do shorthand to get first class, and I didn't know shorthand. And so I was glad to get into something that opened up. And when I was older than the other kids, most of the kids came out of high school to go to basic electronics Navy school. And I was a second class older than the rest of them. And the young kids, some of them had some college, and some just naturally smart. That's why they put them in the electronics rating. And I worked real hard, studied real hard to do good, so I did about as good as them. Everybody had a chance of coming up 100 in their class at one time or another. Every 2 weeks to take an exam. And I was competing with them pretty good. And after you get so many weeks through school, they divided us into communications and radar and DS, the data systems at that time. I don't know what to call it now, into computers and stuff. And so all the other smart guys, they all went to the other branches, and I was the only one left in the group that went through communications. So I came out number 1 in communications, and they offered to keep me there as an instructor to teach the same stuff I just learned. So I learned pretty good. And from there, what did I do? Oh yes, they have an advanced electronics school. And so after my instructor duty, I asked to be sent to advanced electronics school. I didn't think they would do it, since I've been in school so much anyway, but they did. So they sent me to Treasure Island to Advanced Electronics Technician School, and I was still a second class at the time, I think. I made first class along the way somewhere. Anyway, they had a backlog of people waiting to get into to start their classes in the Advanced Electronics School, and naval personnel told the school to get that backlog of people in there and out. So they looked at their backlog of people waiting to get in, and some of them had previous instructor duty, which I had previous instructor duty. Wasn't all that smart necessarily, but I was halfway through at the time, and they had one subject where they taught calculus, and I didn't know calculus. I knew trigonometry a little bit, and didn't know calculus. So, and I having an awfully hard time with calculus. I think I learned awfully slow anyway. It takes a long time to learn something. So I was trying to figure out whether should I learn calculus, and or should I forget calculus and just try to remember enough stuff to pass the test, which is what I ended up doing. And when they put me in to do some instruction, they stuck me in that stupid calculus class. When I finally learned calculus, I know what it is now. And so they got the backlog through school, and then I went on and graduated, and they sent me to another ship, the survey ship, and we surveyed water off of Vietnam.